So today we have a new car. It's just as awful as all the other ones that I seem to end up with. And this is it. An S-Max. Not the most exciting car, but it's sort of all there. Do a clean. Privacy glass in the back. It's got 4 wheels. The wipers are there. You'll probably work out why in a minute. I mean, look, even the lights work. Pretty straight. Could do the wing mirror. Huh. Interesting. I wonder why that's down. Yeah, that's why. It doesn't even start. Don't ask me why I thought this was a good idea. I bought it knowing it's got this non-start issue, so yeah, I don't do myself any favours, do I? So the previous owner did say it don't start. What he said was he thought it was the injectors, so he's changed all 4 injectors and it still won't start. This is literally as I found the car. Absolute mess under there. Yeah, fuse box is missing. Not sure why. It's got some interesting wiring going on now on the battery. Not actually sure what that's for. Need to work that out, I guess, and try and make that right. Before we do all that though, we need to work out why is the car not starting. So first thing, we're going to do a scan, see what faults come up. ABS, AC, instrument panel, not worried about these. Powertrain control module, intake air temperature circuit, high voltage. I mean, I've disconnected the connector to the airflow sensor, so I'm wondering if that's that. Powertrain control module. I mean, possibly powertrain control module is where you'd expect to see any faults, I guess. The guy did say to me is that he's replaced the injectors, and when I asked if they were coded, he said, "What do you mean?" So he doesn't know nothing about coding injectors. I actually offered to code the injectors for him rather than buy the car, and he said no, he just wants to get rid of the car. So we'll soon see if there was more to this than coding the injectors. But I think the first thing I need to do is code the injectors, because he obviously hadn't done that. The injectors have been replaced, so I suppose you can assume that they've been replaced because he was told by someone to change them. But first thing, let's try to complete the job that he started by coding the injectors and then seeing if it starts. Here I delete the injectors. So there's normally a cover that sits on here, which I hope is in the boot. But so, don't know if you can see, but that little QR looking code there may not be that clear, but essentially the numbers on that are what you need to code the injectors. So I need to get that code off all 4 of these injectors. So these are the injectors that the car thinks it's got. Apologies for the messy handwriting, but you can see that these don't match at all. Admittedly, cylinder number 4, which is the timing end for this, no idea why. I always thought timing end was cylinder 1, but anyway, cylinder 1 is gearbox side on these apparently. So you can see that the one with the missing tab I haven't got written down. Apparently that's injector 3 on cylinder 4, but the other 3 anyway, at least they don't match what we've got here. So we'll assume that they all need coding. So code entered and checked. Okay. Ignition off. Ignition on. So if we go back into it after it's completed, Let's have a quick glance at that number. Yeah, looks the same. Okay, let's give it a go. So control module still saying there's no DTCs. So something else to consider is maybe the fact it's actually just got bad fuel. So I connected the hand pump from the fuel filter out to the low pressure fuel line that goes around here and eventually into the rail. So I think there's fuel in there, but now, yeah, the next thing is it any good, that fuel? So, next bright idea is manually pump it through the system and see if we can get some diesel through. Right. If that does anything. Still no luck. So I did actually check for rail pressure, and as you can see in this image, it is generating over 300 bar, which is probably quite sensible. So that suggests that the fuel pump's working, and also that there's no air in the system, because otherwise you wouldn't get that sort of fuel pressure, which does leave me wondering, what is the actual issue? So while looking at various pieces of data, I did come across this in the DPF. So instead of getting a 0 to 1% value, we're getting a 300% value, which is clearly wrong. So due to the fact I'm running out of ideas now, I'm going to have a look at that. And to test that, I'm going to disconnect the DPF and see if the car then starts. If it still doesn't start, it's obviously not the issue. If it does start with the DPF disconnected, that would suggest the DPF being severely blocked is the issue. Well, interestingly, it looks like it's been off at some point. Those nuts and bolts look nice and relatively new, certainly not corroded, and they're possibly not even the right ones, seeing as there's not a single thread sticking out the other side of that nut. Interesting. We try again. And that is what it does. So once again, I bought another absolutely awful car. I'm not sure why I do it to myself. I think I've eliminated a few things. It's not the fuel pump, I don't think, because it seems to be creating fuel pressure. Again, there is fuel pressure, so I don't think there's air in the line. We've even tried new fuel, so I don't think it's really bad fuel. That's already in the car. It's not a battery. It's not the DPF. I've disconnected that and it's still not starting, which is unusual, but possible. And there's no DTCs, so I don't think it's an electrical issue. I'm sort of convincing myself that it's a fuel related issue. Well, if you'd like to see me suffer, stay tuned for part 2. Hopefully I can get this car running again. But for now, that's it. I've had enough.